Hello there, I'm Rich Lieberman, and I want to talk about Dennis Richmond, who passed away at the age of 82 earlier Wednesday. His family notified the people at KTVU. Look, I want to say a few things. First and foremost, look, Dennis was in declining health. I knew that. Uh, People were telling me, various contacts, that unfortunately life was not dealing Dennis Richmond a really good card later in life. I knew all about that. I decided to kind of pass on talking about this because I didn't think it was going to be worthwhile and probably something that he himself would not want publicized. But now that he has passed, and again, it's a tragic day, arguably one of the most famous news anchors in Bay Area TV news lore. And my condolences to his wife and limited family. Didn't have a lot of family. And therefore, tragic as this was, um, it had been expected. I knew about it. I'm not gloating about that. I just understood that his last public appearance, he went to Oakland to be on the set for Julie Hayner's farewell, and he wasn't looking good then. So I wanted to say a few things. First and foremost, I respect him. I'm sure others do too, for the fact that he had a lengthy, multiple decades career at KTVU. Um, and for that, I give him a lot of credit. Uh, you don't survive that long without being a really good craftsman at what you do. Now, in all the glowing tributes, and there'll be a lot more than the ones I'm talking about that you've already read. Look, there were some things about Dennis Richmond that were not as rosy, were not as wonderful as the image that some of these people project about him. He wasn't an especially warm kind of a guy. Now, you might be saying, well, why bring it up now? Because I'm just bringing up something to which was very well known in the industry, and it has to be brought up. I'm not going to go into detail. I've said, and I'm not the only one, I respect the fact that he was able to build a career. He was certainly valued. He was an integral part of KTVU, and that was when he started out, and the majority of his career at KTVU was when KTVU was really solid and eventful and respected and admired. And of course, he was a valued part of the 10 o'clock news, which was KTVU's breadwinner, their legacy newscast. And Dennis was the chief anchor during that one. Worked with some really great people, most of whom who have retired or who have died themselves, no longer with us. Now, having said all of that, so yeah, he had a great career, storied career. He was steady, as you all watched and observed. He was uncanny. Uh, just a really, really storied career at a station that was once the envy of not only the Bay Area news stations, but legendary throughout the entire the entire national news landscape. So I said to you folks, and the people that worked with Dennis know what I'm talking about. He was not a warm and fuzzy guy. Oftentimes, he was sort of controversial, very gruff, very stoic, um, which working on the air, that was never evident, but you had glimpses of it. He was also very, very, very difficult to work with to work for. If you could ask some of the people who are no longer there, some of whom have succumbed, they would tell you the same thing. I don't want to, in any way, shape, or form, I don't want to negate what he did and was so valued and trusted and part of that real famous KTVU when they were just on top everywhere. Not just at 10 o'clock, but in the evening, of course, and as they are now in the morning. Dennis had to overcome many personal issues himself. And because he was so valued, because he was so, how can I put this? Because he was so important to the success of the 10 o'clock news, there was lots of issues that the KTVU management team put up with. And that I'm not going to go into. There's several of you out there who know what I'm talking about. On a one-on-one basis, he was, well, let me say this. He was very distant, didn't exactly coddle around with friends, didn't have many friends. And the friends that he did have were mostly people that worked there at Channel 2. And he had a real tight circle of people that he would call friends. He was not the kind of guy that would come up to you and, again, I use the term warm and fuzzy. Now, having said all of that, I must say this. I would put him, based on longevity, based on his start at KTVU when he was like an intern and worked his way up in the 60s, the late 60s, at Channel 2, all the way up to when he became the chief anchor at 10 o'clock. Now, he was not referred to as chief anchor, but in essence, he was the one. And of course, he worked with people like Elaine Corral and, of course, Julie Hayner, people like that, Claude Mann, Barbara Simpson. And you're going to read a lot. You're going to hear a lot. To me, you have to bring that part up about not exactly his best side, but it was all personal. From a professional standpoint, Dennis Richmond, as I just indicated, I'd put him on par, not necessarily substance wise, certainly style wise. I put him on par with a Dave McElhatton or a Van Amberg, people like that. He built up a following. Um, he was good at delivering the news, especially when there was breaking news where he had to do a little ad libbing, which was not one of his best features, but he still was able to sustain and deliver a quality newscast. So my, again, condolences go out to his family, his wife, and I'm sure KTVU will give him the proper tributes, and you will get the lowdown on one of the best. So again, condolences to Dennis Richmond, who passed away. He was 82, beloved, respected, admired by many people in the television news industry, especially those who worked with him at KTVU.